Good evening and welcome everyone to this live presentation on one of the most significant and debated reforms in Indian democracy, One Nation, One Election, or ONOE. My name is Sushila Chaudhary and you're watching Legal Darpan with Pratham Test Prep, and over the next couple of minutes I will guide you through this intriguing concept. Whether you are a law student, an engaged voter, or simply someone curious about Indian governance, this session will provide you with a thorough understanding of one nation, one election policy. We will explore the core idea, the constitutional changes required, the government's perspective, the criticism it has faced, and the challenges of implementation. By the end of this session, you will have all the insights you need to form your opinion on this transformative initiative. Now, let us begin with understanding one nation, one election, the concept, the policy, what does it mean? So, the concept proposes holding all elections in India, Lok Sabha, state assemblies, municipalities, and panchayats simultaneously, instead of staggered elections that occur every year in different parts of the country. One nation, one election envisions a single synchronized electoral process. This is significant because frequent elections disrupt governance, lead to higher administrative and security costs, and keep political leaders in a perpetual campaign mode. One nation, one election aims to address all these challenges. Now, the debate of simultaneous election is not new to India. In fact, in the initial years after independence, general elections to parliament and all the state assemblies were held simultaneously as per the constitutional provisions. However, this cycle got disrupted from the fourth general election in 1967 onwards due to several instances of political instability and premature dissolution of assemblies. The last simultaneous election that was held nationwide was conducted way back in 1967. Now, simultaneous election is not a unique trend to India. There is a global practice. Countries like Germany, Sweden, and Philippines have been holding simultaneous elections, and the reason that they use is that it ensures political stability. It ensures voter engagement, since the voters does not have to do multiple rounds of voting, and also is very cost effective. Now, in India, recently the government introduced and passed two important bills to facilitate this vision. The first is the Constitution 129 Amendment Bill, which lays the foundation for aligning election schedules. The second is the Union Territories Law Amendment Bill 2024, which ensures uniformity in election timelines for union territories, and together these bills aim to create a framework for synchronized election across India. The Constitution 129th Amendment Bill is the cornerstone of One Nation, One Election initiative. It introduces significant changes to align the election cycles of the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. A new article, Article 820A, is proposed, which establishes a mechanism to synchronize elections. Additionally, key amendments are made to Article 83, 172, and Article 327. Now, Article 83 fixes the tenure of the Lok Sabha to 5 years starting from an appointed date. Article 172 does the same for state assemblies, aligning their terms with that of the Lok Sabha. And Article 327 empowers Parliament to regulate elections for simultaneous conduct. This bill also introduces a single electoral roll for all elections within a constituency, ensuring a more efficient and less fragmented process. In practical terms, this bill acts as a universal clock synchronizing the electoral timelines of Lok Sabha and state assemblies to ensure a uniform schedule. If implemented, it will mark a significant shift in India's electoral process. Now, moving on to the second important bill, the Union Territories Law Amendment Bill 2024. Now, this bill complements the 129th Constitutional Amendment Bill by ensuring that even union territories follow the synchronized election schedule. It amends several key acts, including Government of Union Territories Act 1962, Government of NCT of Delhi Act 1991, and the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. These amendments align the electoral timelines of Union Territories with those of the Lok Sabha as well as local assemblies. For example, if Delhi or Jammu and Kashmir were holding their legislative elections, these would now be conducted alongside national elections. This ensures that the entire country, including union territories, adheres to a uniform election cycle, reducing administrative as well as logistic complexities. Now, crucial driver behind this initiative is the high level committee chaired by former President Ramnath Kovind. Established in September 2023, the committee was tasked with studying the feasibility of one nation, one election and recommending necessary constitutional and legal changes. After extensive consultations with stakeholders, the committee produced an 18,000 page report detailing its findings and proposals. The committee recommended implementing one nation, one election policy in two phases. In the first phase, the Lok Sabha and State Assembly election would be synchronized, and in the second phase, local body elections such as municipality and panchayats would be conducted within 100 days of the general elections. The committee argued that the simultaneous election would reduce cost and minimize voter fatigue and enhance political stability in the country. So, this high level committee is the main reason the one nation, one election policy was and bill particular these two bills were particularly introduced, because this committee was appointed sometime in the last session of parliament, so that the bill can be introduced in this session. Now, what was the government's response and what were the key findings? So the key findings in particularly by the high committee, which was headed by Ramnath Kovind, was that simultaneous election would reduce policy disruption and as well as voter fatigue, as they do not have to come again and again for vote. And they also proposed, like we said, that in two phases the implementation is proposed. First, Lok Sabha and state assemblies, and later on in the second phase, municipality and panchayat polls within 10 days of general election will be conducted. Now, what have been the responses? Government as well as oppositions have their own responses. The government has strongly supported the One Nation, One Election initiative, presenting it as a step towards strengthening democracy. According to the government, synchronized elections will reduce the financial burden of frequent elections, allow for better governance, and increase voter turnout. Frequent elections, they argue, disrupt policy making as governments are often preoccupied with winning the next election rather than focusing on the long term plans. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has emphasized the need for detailed consultation on this initiative. He proposed referring the bills to a joint parliamentary committee to ensure that all stakeholders are heard and the transition of one nation, one election policy is smooth. The government plans to implement ONOE in two phases to address potential challenges and ensure feasibility. But not everyone was convinced about one nation, one election policy. Opposition parties have raised several concerns, primarily centered on federalism and the basic structure of the constitution. Critics argue that one nation, one election policy undermines the autonomy of states by aligning their electoral cycles with the Lok Sabha. Congress Member of Parliament Manish Tiwari called it an assault on federalism, while other leaders have argued that this proposal centralizes the power in a way that goes against India's democratic ethos. Opposition leaders also questioned the practical challenge of implementing one nation, one election policy. What happens if a state government falls midterm? How can elections be synchronized in a country as diverse and as complex as India? Now, these questions remain significant obstacles to the consensus which is required. Now, let's talk about what are a few benefits as well as a few disadvantages of this particular policy. So, the potential benefits of one nation, one election policy entails cost savings. So, first, it could lead to significant cost savings by eliminating the need for frequent elections. Second, it would encourage policy stability as government would not need to focus on short term populist measures to win elections. Third, it could increase voter turnout as citizens would vote once every 5 years instead of multiple times for different elections. Finally, it allows for more efficient use of administrative and security resources, which are currently stretched thin during the staggered election cycles. On the flip side, one nation, one election presents several challenges. Synchronizing elections across all states is logistically complex, particularly if a government loses its majority midterm. Critics also argued that one nation, one election undermines the federal nature of India's political system by forcing states to align their election schedules with the Lok Sabha. Furthermore, national issues might overshadow regional concerns during simultaneous elections, diluting the focus on local governance. Regional parties may also find it harder to compete with larger national parties in such a system. To implement one nation, one election policy, several constitution amendments are required, including changes in Article 83, 172, and 327. The government will need to work closely with states to build consensus and address concerns about federalism. Logistically, the Election Commission will require additional resources such as voting machines and trained personnel to manage simultaneous elections across the country at the same time. These challenges highlight the complexity of transitioning to one nation, one election policy. Now, in conclusion, one nation, one election policy is an ambitious reform that seeks to transform India's electoral system. In conclusion, while it promises cost savings, governance stability, and reduced voter fatigue, it also raises critical concerns about federalism, practicality, and its potential impact on regional parties. The question remains, can India implement this reform without compromising its democratic as well as federal principles? Thank you so much for joining me for this session. I hope this presentation has provided you with a deeper understanding of one nation, one election policy. Now, for more such informational content, please subscribe to Pratham Test Prep. Feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. And let's make sure that this is a continued conversation. If you like the video, please like the video, share for more such informational content, and share and subscribe for more informational content. Thank you and have a great day.